Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the new, or fairly new, Miguron Velona 3.5 inch, I guess is what they're calling it. I keep calling it the mini Velona. I think that's what a lot of people are calling it. It's not really mini. It's just a smaller version of the Velona, which everybody asked for because the Velona was one of the most impressive budget knives ever. And everybody said, this is great, but it's gigantic. Can you make a smaller one? And they did. They made a premium one, and it was all right. And now they've made what I think everybody really wanted was a smaller budget version. This is a very well-priced knife. And spoiler alert, this is going to be a really good review. This is a nice knife, especially if you are exclusively shopping in the budget corner of the knife world. Yeah, value here is definitely off the charts, and I like this design a lot. I'm going to link this knife right down in the description so that you guys can check it out if you want to. It does help my channel when you use those links, but that's entirely up to you. Thanks so much to my patrons for supporting me. Thanks to Miguron for sending this knife in, and please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. All right, let's go ahead and measure this. Technically, I have reviewed this already in the M390 form, right? M390 in carbon fiber. It's the same thing. It's just 14T28N and G10. So overall length is coming in at 7.75 inches. Blade length is exactly 3.5 inches. Cutting edge is just about 3.25. How about some size comparisons up against the any custom scales you find in this section can be found down in the description under Original Goat and others. Up against the 8010 and the 8020.5. If you want to see this, I've got my Velona, like the large one, like really packed away. But if you want to see this up against the Velona, you can check out the M390 version of this, the review I did on the M390 version where I did compare them. Let's put it up against the Spyderco PM2 and the Spyderco Para 3. It's kind of in between. And then last but not least, let's put it up against the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue and the Hogue Deca. Very similar in profile to the Hogue Deca. How's the action? This is a liner lock, and the action is very, very good. Something I really like about the Velona blade is this elongated fuller where you can literally reverse flick it on any area. Like I just use this finger here to kick it out, which is really nice. You can use the middle finger if you want to do that, or you can use the flipper tab. It's just very easy to manipulate. It's very good. There's no double clutch. Bearings are nice and smooth, right? This liner lock that they've done is, plenty solid enough to... I turned my laptop on with that. Solid enough to withstand a weak triple tap, which is what I do for knives like this on this channel. I don't think they need to withstand more than that, right? It's not a knife that's designed for extreme outdoor hard use, so there's no reason to test it in that way. But yeah, it's just good. The action's good. It's exactly what you want. Access to the lock bar is also very, very good. I will point out something that's really funny to me. This is a right-handed liner lock knife. When they created the Moyarl, they put a crossbar lock on it that is an ambidextrous locking system, and they did not mill out the holes for lefties. On this right-handed liner lock version of the Velona, they have the pocket clip positioned, in my opinion, much deeper, more towards the butt, which is preferable, and they milled it out for lefties. Come on now, Miguron. We got to talk. I'm going to say this. I think a crossbar lock version of this knife would be really great. If you decide to do that, I'm going to talk about what would need to change if we're going to do a crossbar lock version, because I feel like they're already considering it. But yeah, if you do that, make sure you mill out the holes so that left-handed people can properly mount the pocket clip, because we don't, definitely, especially on a flipper knife, we do not want left-handed people flipping this knife over and carrying it like this on the left side of their body. That's asking for something to, it's unlikely, but it's the most likely scenario where something bumps the flipper tab while the knife is in your pocket, and then you have this situation, which is not good. So yeah, let's make sure we mill that out just on everything. Like holes for the lefty side pocket clip is that's a good idea, right? But anyways, action is very good. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. I'll get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. So we have, it's also in the pinned comment under every video. T8 for the pivot, T8 for the body screws, and even T8 for the pocket clip screws, which is really nice. This is a beautifully simple knife to take apart and maintain because it's a liner lock and not a crossbar lock. Crossbar locks are fine. They're just nowhere near as simple as something like this. As long as you have the right tools for the job, you should be good to go. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness on this guy. I want to say it is actually a little thinner, quite a bit thinner than its older, bigger brother. Blade stock thickness 100 and it says 113. It's probably 115 thousandths. Weight, where's the scale? There it is. Weight on this guy. It's going to vary a little bit, especially if you pick up the more premium version because that's titanium and not steel. But this guy's coming in at 3.67 ounces for 3.5 inches of blade. That's pretty good in my book. I don't have a problem. Meat and potatoes time. This is fantastic that we now have this knife, which is, I mean, if just in terms of the materials, we're going to talk about the blade steel. Just in terms of the materials used here and the execution of said materials, right? If you reduce value to that, and that's really hard for some people not to do because, and the budget knife world does that, right? For most newer people, materials equal value and there is absolutely nothing else to consider, which is wrong, but it's a conclusion that people naturally come to. My kids are really stomping around upstairs. Boy, everybody got the day off today except for me. But anyways, yeah, it's a natural thing, conclusion for people to come to, right? G10, we have nice PVD coated, in this case, steel liners. We have a PVD coat. It's a real PVD coating, by the way. PVD coated 14T28N for the blade and a titanium pocket clip. Now, it's not that, you know, materials just cost nothing and other companies just rip everybody else off, right? A lot of people like to say, $800 for a pocket knife. All it is titanium and M390. You know, that they're clearly ripping everybody off. They're ignoring the small batch element, the likely US made element, right? When things are not mass produced, they cost a lot more. Certainly, when you only have like 1 or 2 people making small batches of things in a country where the costs are much, much higher. But it's just easier to come to the conclusion without doing any research that every other company is just greedy and the companies that make less expensive knives are, I guess, a charity, right? I don't know. I don't need to get into that, but Miguron, that is a company that's manufacturing knives in China and they are mass producing them, is creating some exceptional quality and using very good materials. And ultimately, the culmination of this is a final price tag that is very, very good. So if you find yourself in that population of people who just reduces value to materials alone, whatever, here it is. It's really good. You can enjoy this, right? You don't need to complain about the expensive stuff that makes you mad and fills your pants with spaghetti. You can just enjoy this, right? This is spectacular in that department. Ergonomics, does this knife translate well as a smaller knife? Yes. I do wish that they had elongated the forward choil. This is a sideways single knuckle choil, and there's very little reason to get your finger up here. The flipper tab is really creating a confining space with this being smaller than you know, its bigger brother. So I think on this guy, what I would have preferred is just get rid of this forward choil completely and just bring it back here to a standard sharpening choil. That way nobody tries to put their finger up there, and it just more cutting edge would be better all the way around because there's plenty of room for somebody like me. I don't have the biggest hands in the world, but I wear an XL glove. I got plenty of room right here to get a nice hammer grip on this. Pocket clip, right at the 50% line, so you feel it a little bit, but it's not bad. It's titanium, it's rounded off at the end, and they've got it back far enough back here that we don't have it into your hand. It would be much worse if it was like a big ramp bill, right? But it's fine. And, you know, while the scales are not contoured, they are nicely chamfered at the edges, so ergonomics are pretty good. It's not much more than that. It's not like, wow, oh my gosh, but it's pretty good. And manipulation of the knife combined with the pretty good ergonomics, it's just, you know, it's a good combination of things. We have the beautiful Velona blade, not necessarily the thinnest behind the edge here, but it's fine. I like the little details like the crown spine or the radius spine right there. It looks really good. I love their gray PVD and Battleship gray combination. I think this is just really good looking, but you can get an uncoated blade if you want. It's 14C28N, and I expected to see the same range that the Moyarl was in, which is 57 to 59. A lot of people freak out about that, and I talked really extensively about that in the Moyarl video. 14C28N, if you didn't know, has, and this isn't just my opinion, this is Sandvik, the company that makes the steel. The optimal range is, if you didn't know, get ready, 55 to 62. It has an absolutely massive optimal range. Obviously, the harder we get, the better we get in terms of edge retention, and the worse we get in terms of toughness. On the softer side, much better toughness, but nowhere near the same levels of edge retention. Given that we are looking at a pocket knife, and a normal sane person knows that a folding knife is not a hardcore, super outdoors destruction tool, right? We probably don't need this to be on the softer end. But where they hit this is kind of right there in the middle, and given that 14C28N is a very balanced composition, it's a composition that's meant to balance toughness, corrosion resistance, edge retention, right? I think that's fine. I don't know why they didn't hit the Moyarl 1 point higher, but 58 to 60 is fine. If you have been under the impression, and there's a lot, it's not everybody, but there's a large population of people that just automatically assume that the hardness scale is anything that's 60 or above is good, and anything that's 59 or lower is bad, and that's not accurate at all. The Rockwell scale is a measurement of hardness, but every composition has an optimal hardness depending on what it's made up of and what its intended purpose is. Right? So, for a pocket knife like this size, this geometry, with a blade made of 14C28N, do I think that 58 to 60 is acceptable? Oh yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. I don't have an issue with that at all. I would like to see them bring the Moyarl up that, because each point, while it doesn't sound like it's much, it's an exponential difference. Each point higher or lower is an exponential difference. So yeah, that would be cool. But anyways, yeah, this looks really good, and it will perform very well, and it will be very, very easy to touch up and resharpen. So we have the same kind of look back here. The radius liners that are shadow boxing the scale slightly is a nice little touch. There's something I pointed out when I reviewed the Velona, the original Velona. It's the same thing. It's just smaller, nice backspacer. I like the scale liner, backspacer liner scale look back here. Just looks really, really good. Pocket clip is nice. We have that gray PVD on the pocket clip as well. Nice retention. In and out of the pocket is fine. There is a little bit of peel ply texturing here on the G10. So over time, this will destroy your pocket seam, but it's fine. Really, I didn't have any problems with this in and out of the pocket. Just a little bit of friction there, but it's not the most aggressive texture. No blade play up, down, left, or right. This does run on bearings, by the way, but you probably knew that. No lock stick, no double clutch, no pivot lash. Very smooth and consistent in here. The detent is absolutely perfect. I have no issues with that. We have absolutely perfect centering on this guy, and no detent lash. This is a $50 knife. Honestly, I think this version of the Velona is the ideal version, because the big one, unless you really, really love just like big knives, this is just a good size of pocket knife. It makes much more sense for more people, right? The average person is going to appreciate this size of knife a little bit better. But listen, if you just like bigger knives, then buy the big one, right? You don't need to justify it. You don't need to have a reason to carry a larger folding knife. If it's legal and you like it, then do whatever you want, right? There's no you don't have to take it to the knife council and get it approved. You can just do it. You just do whatever you want. Miguron, if you do a crossbar lock version of this, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions. Number one, flippers and crossbar locks don't go well together. So delete the flipper so that people can, number one, actually deploy it, and number two, make use of this very small forward choil area. But let's not leave deployment up to the fuller alone. What I would do is fill this last little space right here with a thumb stud, because if you do that, number one, people can use that stud to deploy it, and number two, you don't have to change anything about the knife, because that spot clears the frame all the way around, right? Now, it'll be slightly in, Well, no, it really won't. It'll be right there at the end, right where the cutting path begins. So if you do a crossbar lock version of this, number one, you need holes on both sides, just like this. Just don't change anything and you're good. Delete the flipper tab for the crossbar lock version. A lot of people are going to cry and complain. Just because they make a different version of one of their knives doesn't mean that they stop making the version that you like, right? Case in point, the Moyarl and a bunch of other ones, right? So it's okay to have variations of the same knife, and then you just don't buy that one that you don't like. But crossbar lock, holes on both sides, delete this flipper tab, put a you put a thumb stud on both sides right there in that last little space, right there. Make it large enough that people can actually get a hold of it. But you do that, and holy moly, you have a real winner there that's going to grab the attention of a lot more people. Mainly the 10% of the population that is left-handed. Right? Now, this is fine. Lefties, you can still carry it, but, it's just nice. I'm also a person that likes to, do things and then flip the knife over to my other hand, and I do whatever I'm doing with my right hand. It's kind of nice to have a knife that's easy to manipulate with both hands, so that'd be cool. But anyways, this version of the knife is very recommendable, very good. It's going to go in my cheap knives I like playlist, and it's also going to go in my recommended knives playlist because it's a $50 knife. Just great, right? Just really good stuff. Nice work from Miguron. Happy to report that this one's good to go. That's going to be pretty much it today. I'm realizing that my card is gone. I need to do my outro. Where has my card gone? Unreal. There it is. Man, that thing gets away from me. Please, make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.